Hi there, Meg Foley here. This video is all about boundaries and asking yourself and starting to get some self-awareness on how many different ways you don't honor your boundaries. My name's Meg Foley. I work with 40 and 50-year-old women moving through midlife upgrade. And boundaries is, or lack thereof, is something I know and have known very well in my life. I've historically been, I would have said, an overgiver, where I would tell myself, I don't require a whole lot, so I'll just sort of give myself over to other people. I'll give my time, my resources, my space, my ideas, just over and over and over again. I've had businesses where, it's the startup phase, so everybody just all in, and you give and overgive time without requiring the same value in return, not really honoring the boundary, or even just roll out of bed and would love to maybe go do some self-care, go for a run, do something for myself, and find myself repeatedly taking care of my dog or anybody staying with me, giving my time away first, and just sort of noticing all the little places that I don't really maintain boundaries, and took so long in my life to really figure out what boundaries actually even meant. And so I started to really ask myself. I got some great coaching and mentorship along the way on how to actually really, first in my business, first and foremost, create containers and structure and honor those boundaries. And I started to think about that and really ask myself, how many different ways do I give away my boundary or never even set one? And recently I had one around even creative ideas. I don't know if you're like me and you have a lot of really great ideas when you're out running or out doing something very active, and just sort of being out in nature. It's a great place to sort of open your mind and let ideas come in. And while that is a great practice, for me, I found there are times when I actually am not honoring my boundaries of being in nature. So this video is all about getting self-awareness at a deeper level around how well you do boundaries. And the 3 ways to start to practice boundary setting, because again, if you're not great at setting boundaries just in these small interpersonal for yourself contexts, what does that mean when it comes to relationships, even business relationships, etc., clients, boundaries? It can be very difficult to try and start setting boundaries in those places. Instead, this video is really about 3 small ways, micro moments throughout your day that you can practice the process of boundaries. So the first one is with self. So most specifically, first thing in the morning, you pay yourself first, take care of yourself first, and figure out what are your non-negotiables or boundaries that equals self-care for you. And this could be 5 minutes of just sitting on the toilet and meditating, or maybe your little ritual for how you do like facial care or put your makeup on, or a morning routine or ritual around maybe how you drink your coffee and journal. Whatever it is, find something for yourself that's self-care related and commit to setting the boundaries around it. And this doesn't have to be time consuming, but set a timer and try and be very present with just doing that one thing. It's not thinking necessarily about your to-dos of the day, just something for yourself. The second one weaves into this is time. Set some boundaries around your time. And this means containers. So decide what your time block is for, again, that self-care, what your time block might be for when you do emails, what your time block might be for when you do creativity. Like I said, with my boundary or lack of boundary noticing, I decided to change up my routine of letting ideas come in whenever they wanted with no boundary, and actually set a container for when I do creative thinking. So if I'm out in nature and an idea wants to come in, I just sort of put it I pin it and put it on the board of my creative lab here in my mind and just say, okay, great, that idea can come back in between 2 and 4 when I actually sit down to write down and organize all of these ideas. So setting containers around your time and really committing to being present with the thing you set in that time. So that's number 2. And number 3 is space. Recognizing how and where you can optimize your boundaries around space. And one really critical and easy one to do, again, loops these other 2 in, is somewhere, I even say sacred, that's just your space in your house. So if you share a house with someone else, or even if your house has different places, like my house, I film, but this also is my living room. I also use it for, my dining room. It's a big open concept. So there's different pockets just in this one room alone that has sort of different ways to use the space. So claiming a space that's just for you and your sacred practice is a really amazing way to just practice the boundaries of your space. The next step to that is organizing and really setting what each, say again, if you have a big open concept, what each pocket or area of that room, what it's dedicated for. Or is there a space for all of your books? Is there a space for where you do your yoga and your meditation? Is there a space where you do all of your self-care? So trying to create, again, containers and space and getting clear on what that space is. Does the space know it's clear? And allowing you to have a boundary around how you organize and move through your space. So boundaries around your self-care, boundaries around time and setting containers, and a boundary around your space, and get really intentional with at least one sacred pocket area of your home that's just your space for you. These are my recommendations for today. If you like this, subscribe to my channel. There's a lot more tips and videos in there, and look forward to seeing you in the next one.